Hello and welcome to another out-of-spec efficiency test with an electrified vehicle. This is the Jeep Grand Cherokee Overland 4xe. That's the full name. And this thing is a plug-in hybrid, just like the Jeep Wrangler 4xe I tested a while back. So I am topping it up to 100% right here with a charge point. By the way, here's a charge point that's broken. Does happen. Why is it so hard to have EV infrastructure up and running at all times? Anyways, let's take this on a range test, a city range test. This has the plug-in hybrid, about 17 kilowatt hour, probably 14 something usable. I'll double check those numbers, but it claims 25 miles on a charge in the city. So I will do our city efficiency loop for the plug-in hybrids, and we'll see how it stacks up against the Wrangler, against other options, and just how good is this for 75 grand. All right, and we are unplugging here. Delivered just under 2 kilowatt hours to get topped up. It was nice. Security came over, saw me filming, and they asked if I needed help to get the car charging. So that was actually really nice. But let me walk you through the procedure really quick. Basically, we will set the car, turn it on. 4xe, nice. Hold OK to reset the trip. So we are at 0 for everything. And we keep climate control at, yeah, not the most responsive screen. Keep climate control at auto, and we keep it between 68 and 72. So I'm going to actually have it at 72. The annoying thing with this is the climate control does not actually give you options of fan speed on auto. Some places, some cars will do auto, low, medium, high. This just does auto, which actually in my case has typically been too high. So that's to keep the efficiency up. No massaging seats, no heated to cooled seats. It does have those. I am not going to do that. And I will basically just drive. For our city range test for the plug-in hybrids, we basically keep it under 40 miles an hour, or 65 kilometers an hour for you guys overseas. And we just drive. We put it in eco mode if there is one. Unfortunately, no eco mode here. And you can put it in electric down there, which at this low speed, it defaults to electric, but I am now forcing it to be in electric. With the I keep wanting to call it a Wrangler. Definitely not a Wrangler. With the Grand Cherokee 4xe, you have all these electric vehicle driving modes, which goes away. I'm gonna point out right now, the screen is not great. Just, I don't like this infotainment that much. It's fairly functional, but a bit glitchy, even to the point where my music would play, and this is wired in. It wasn't like wireless CarPlay. I was wired into CarPlay. Music would play, and then every time I used the screen, the music would like glitch up, almost like it couldn't handle the processing of playing the music and me using the screen. Super weird. But just going to drive around, and we are at 100% state of charge. It's actually dipped down to 99 already. It thinks we can do 27 miles if you see that, but I'm going to obviously put that to the test. I think if I recall, the Wrangler I tested did about 25, 26 miles. It claims 25 miles by the EPA. So we're just gonna put that to the test. Drive under 40, a little bit of mixture of stop and go traffic, stoplights, slowing down, speeding up, just basically simulating what it would be on a city commute. So I'll check back in every so often, obviously at all the 25% state of charge increments. This car does let me see exact battery percentage, which is great. Some cars don't, like my Lincoln Co I tested a few weeks ago in Germany. That was frustrating. So we'll see how this does. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think of plug-in hybrids? Obviously, we've done a number of videos on plug-in hybrids as a whole because I think it's a very niche person that they really work for. I kind of was one. Like when I was testing the 4xe, I actually had another job, and I was the edge case where I could charge it at home and then drive it 23 miles to work, charge it at work, and then drive it 23 miles home. I could basically exist entirely on that vehicle's electricity. And then I could throw it back into gas, take it into the mountains, and then do a trail in all electric. I do love all electric off-roading, but then again, this is $75,000 price as tested, which can buy a lot of EV. So who is buying this car is my question. What do you think of the Grand Cherokee? I'm gonna go drive around. We'll see you at 75%. A couple things to note about the powertrain of the 4xe. It is the same as the Jeep Wrangler 4xe. So the electric motor actually is sandwiched between the engine and transmission. So it'll use the transmission itself. It shifts through 8 gears in electric, which is really a different approach from a lot of plug-in hybrids, and obviously much different than most EVs. That allows you to do all the things like low range gearbox and such. Pretty good, I'd say. 134 horsepower, 198 pound-feet of torque from the electric only component. That gives the vehicle combined 375 horsepower, 470, I don't remember the exact torque number, but it's a lot. It's pretty powerful as far as the Grand Cherokee goes. So you'll find no lack of power, but I find an immense lack of smoothness, if I could say. The transmission, the powertrain itself is just not very smooth. But it's a Jeep. I don't know if that's really something you would expect to even have as something smooth. So I don't think people are really that upset, but something to note. But otherwise, pretty nice, quiet, comfortable. It does have massaging seats, although I have those turned off right now. Heated and cooled seats. Very fully optioned. I mean, they threw everything but the kitchen sink at this. A passenger display, which is also off at the moment. You can actually do night vision, I think. There's the night vision camera. Pretty good size screen, actually. Of course, the heads-up display, if you can see that. And air suspension can go up and down 5 different levels, although the highest level is very low speed off-roading. The lowest level is really just entry and exit height. So not like you can drive around in all 5 levels, but pretty cool to see air suspension. The Macintosh 19 speaker sound system, pretty good. I will say it is best for like rock music. Anything else, it really just washes out with too much bass. It's really not well tuned, I will say. It gives you a 3-band EQ. I wish it was like a 6 or a 10-band EQ. I feel like then I could really dial it in. Seems like pretty good components, just not my favorite. And then here I want to talk about really quick the electric vehicle functions. So battery save will save the battery for future use, but it doesn't work entirely like you want it to. Like I left home with 100% and I said, okay, save the battery 100%. It let it get down to like 91% by the time I finished my short drive to that coffee shop. So then I had to charge it back up to 100 to do this test. That's slightly annoying. One thing to note, battery charge will do, basically you can set a charge level of 40-ish, 60-ish, or 80-ish. You can't do anything very specific. So if you're really wanting to be nerdy with your plug-in hybrid, this is not the one for you. But those things still work pretty well, so you can still charge the battery up to a good amount. It aims for like 85%. And that's what it'll charge it to from dead, which is pretty cool if you want to save it for city driving or some light trails. 74 degrees outside, and you have people with studded tires driving around in July, or actually it's August now, but that's Colorado for you. Some people just leave those studded tires on all year. No good. But yeah, I wanted to mention the conditions really quick. 74 degrees, really nice morning out here in Colorado, kind of on the western side in Arvada, the western side of Denver. I also wanted to mention, we do these tests loop style, so to counteract pretty much all elevation changes. So I'm not like driving around the city starting in a really high part and ending in a low part or anything like that. Gonna start and end in that exact same spot of that parking garage. So beautiful place to drive around. Really quite a fan of this area. And yep, approaching 75%, and we have done 6.4 miles. So really we're on track for the EPA estimate of 25 miles. I think that's a pretty decent amount, although it would have been nicer to have a bigger battery pack. I know they just kind of copied and pasted what they had already used in the Wrangler. That too, I wish I had a bigger battery pack. Something like 25 kilowatt hours would have been a really nice usable figure. just past 75%, now it's 74%, and almost 8 miles, which is pretty good. One thing to note, you have paddle shifters, so you can manually shift the 8-speed transmission, but not in electric mode, which I don't understand. If you're off-roading and you really want a lower gear for different torque, maybe that logic doesn't apply, but it's just, why give me the option to shift and use the electric motor using the transmission? I don't know. But it'll kick you out of electric mode, put you into hybrid mode, kick on the engine, and then you can't go back into electric mode until you park. That's super annoying. So that, yeah, that caught me off guard a bit, but pulled over, got it fixed. So that was 0.1 mile, which actually it's a little less than that of when the engine kicked on before I pulled over. But we are on track for beating the EPA estimate, which is great. It's just super weird to have the shifting feel when you're driving around in electric. It's just super strange and a little bit clunky sometimes. Not the smoothest operation. By the way, digital rearview mirror looks pretty nice. I really am a fan of those. They're not always the best, but in this case works pretty darn well. And also the passenger display, again, that's off right now, but I think you can turn it on right there. Now it's on. Pretty dim, not the best quality, but there's an HDMI port. You can literally bring like your laptop or a gaming console and plug it in and play it right there. That is absolutely awesome. I really really like that. So weird and quirky. Napa leather, just a nice interior, full panoramic sunroof that does open, and a pretty big opening as well. Half of it opens, so definitely a nice place to be in this vehicle. I guess it should be for $75,000, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, oh, pick this over an EV, because there's some EVs that could do maybe not quite as gnarly of trails that this can, but yeah, for that price, I mean, it does qualify for that full tax credit, I believe, and the tax credit system may be changing soon. So I don't know. I'm on the fence. Let me know what you think of the Grand Cherokee Overland 4xe and the Wrangler 4xe. I mean, I'm seeing a lot more of them lately, which is nice. I'd just like to see more electrified vehicles, regardless of hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or fully electric. But I'm excited to see some full electric options coming from Stellantis more in the future, the near future, I think. So just gonna keep moseying on here. I'll let you know when I hit 50% and see where our status is at. 50% state of charge. We have done just about 16 miles. That's, yep, still on track to beat EPA, which I'm pretty sure I did in the Wrangler as well. I honestly don't remember. I should probably double check that. But I remember it being better than I expected for sure. And I think the Wrangler actually had a shorter range than this claimed because of the weight, or actually, no, I think it was the tires, because there's a Rubicon. So this one should be a bit more efficient purely because of the tires are more efficient, but just enjoying cruising around. What I've noticed is it will only use the lowest 4 gears of the transmission, so it won't go above 4th gear, at least within 40 miles an hour. Maybe at higher speeds it does. But when I talked about that commute I did with the Wrangler to my old job downtown Denver, I was taking the highway still in all electric mode, and it still was doing just fine. So yeah, definitely use cases for this car, but for how many people, I don't know. And now the 25% state of charge check-in. 22-ish miles past, and estimating 6 to go. So yep, pretty much right on track to what we kind of expected. Oh, nice. Any Stranger Things fans on here? Pretty cool. And here we are blowing past EPA estimate, which, I mean, it's hard to know how they exactly factor that. It's just a generic combined number. So in theory, we should be meeting that pretty spot on, because 40 miles an hour city driving, probably a good mix, which is why we chose that. But always feels good to surpass a range estimate by the manufacturer. I don't think we'll go that much further though. We are at 12%, and I did go back to look, and the Wrangler did 27.5 miles. So this is probably going to be pretty close to right on par. I think it's a little bit of a heavier vehicle than the Wrangler, but the Wrangler had knobbier tires, so maybe those cancel out. Not entirely sure, but I'm just gonna keep driving till it completely runs out. That is a nice thing. You know, EVs, we generally have to stop when we feel like the car is about to give out, but we don't run it till it's completely dead. Unless you're Kyle doing the F-150 Lightning. If you haven't seen that video, go watch him run it absolutely dead and get help from a viewer pushing it to the charger. But don't do that with the plug-in hybrid. That is, I guess, one benefit is you have the full electric capability and then the gas will kick on. Now the downside with this is the fuel, the 2.5 liter engine is just not that efficient. So once you are out of electricity, it will really not be a very efficient car for you to drive in. I think maybe low 20s is your MPG, so not great from that perspective, but cool to have some electric range. I will give them that. Doing some driving around, waiting for it to die, and I have noticed the map itself shows a couple chargers, but not all of them. There are actually 3 completely separate charging locations here, and this is all new development, so it's not like, oh, one showed up because it's new or old and the other ones are new. There's 3 separate chargers and it shows 2 of them. So can't entirely rely on the map. I pretty much always recommend PlugShare as a good resource for finding chargers. But we are basically just doing these kind of neighborhood streets circling. That's the parking garage right in there, somewhere in that building. Yep, right there. So we're down to 2% state of charge, just waiting for it to die. If it's anything like the Wrangler, it will basically do a loud, annoying chime. Down to 1% now, just past the Wrangler, which was 27.5 miles. So we are kind of what I expected. Wrangler tires, really inefficient, but it is a couple 100 pounds lighter than this. I just double checked that as well. The Wrangler weighs 5222. This one weighs around 54 to 5500, depending on exact spec. So that is to be expected, and yeah, not too surprised by these results. Just happy to see that it did still beat the EPA just like the Wrangler did. So now it says less than 1% right there. So we'll see what happens. Pretty good, sorry about the water bottle just rolling around down there. Pretty good regen feel. There is no one pedal driving in any way, and there's actually not even a brake hold, which is strange. Most hybrids and plug-in hybrids have a hold option. Like when you get to a stop, you can press further in on the brake or just it'll, you know, hold you. But this one creeps at all times, so not an option here. There we go, electric mode temporarily unavailable, battery level too low. So pulling over, 28 miles is the final tally, and yeah, it's pretty good. So there you have it, the Jeep Grand Cherokee Overland 4xe in all of its glory with the city range test. Kept it at or below 40 miles an hour. I mean, I may have gone like 41 or 42 a couple points, but I was not hypermiling it in any way. A lot of the driving was around 30, 35, 40. A little bit of stops here and there, of course, stop signs, stop lights, traffic. It was morning, a little bit of the end of rush hour. Honestly, solid car. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Grand Cherokee 4xe or the Wrangler 4xe. Which one would you pick and why? What else do you hope to see 4xe happen? I mean, this reminds me a lot of the Grand Wagoneer, of course, just babified, like it's just smaller and more affordable, although $75,000 is really not that affordable. But yeah, you might start seeing more of these on the road. They are kind of becoming more popular. You'll see these blue tow hooks right here, of course the charge port, the blue accents, that's all denoting the electrification, the plug-in hybridness that is the 4xe. So thanks so much for watching. 28 miles, that's solid. That's 3 miles more than the EPA estimate and half a mile more than the Rubicon 4xe. So see you in another video very soon, whether it's electric, plug-in hybrid, not sure. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think of plug-in hybrids? I ask this every video, but it's just so polarizing. I mean, $75,000. Tell me why you would buy this over an EV that is much cheaper. Maybe not much cheaper, but there's a lot of EVs cheaper than this car. See ya.